I am calling this Housing Task Force meeting to order. It is Monday, May 13th, and can we have, first of all, let's see who is here. The call to order. Let's start with this side of the room.
Mike Mulher.
Judith Spang.
Paul Rasmussen.
I am Sally Tobias.
Heather Grant.
Al Howland.
Nick Taylor.
And what was your, sorry?
I'm Taylor Graham, the housing navigator with the Workforce Housing.
Oh, okay, cool.
Right.
Nice to see you.
Nice to meet you.
All right, again, the Taylor. There seems to be a lot of Taylor Tylers.
We're missing
There's any more Michaels out there?
Missing two today.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, and Spain seems to attract our Michaels too, so. We have a quorum though, right? Yeah, we do, are good. So I'm going to ask for an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Second by Judith, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And do we have any public comments? We have no members of the public. I see no little numbers up there for Zoom, so I'm assuming we do not have any public comments, so I'm going to skip over that. We have minutes of April 8th. Did anybody have any changes in there? It was, no, I'll just give people a second. Any issues? I don't think you were there.
I don't think so.
All right, so I'm going to minutes of April 8th.
I'll move we accept the minutes of April 8th.
A second.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You abstain, you were not there. I would thank Eileen for taking the minutes. She does a really great job, and bindingly is to be commended for that. So let's move on to reports from other committees. Do we have, we definitely have some reports. So I'm going to go around, raise your hand. You have some, planning board?
Planning board's still going through details. I'm hoping that, yes, this is our workshop. We will get through all of the details that will then provide Michael the information he needs to create the next draft. That's about where we are with that. So, and I was hoping.
It always goes slower than you hope. But it's going faster than it could be.
Well,
Actually, we're gonna kind of go over a little bit of that when we get down a couple of levels on item 8. Do we have anything from the council?
Well, I think the most important goals, and I think it was significant that I think how the housing, workforce housing initiative definitely was discussed and was very, positive about, being able to create some change from where we are today on that. So I think, we'll look forward to seeing what comes out of the planning board on that and gets kicked up to the town council. I think we have support certainly for the concept to see what happens with the words, but yeah.
It's good to see because
Yeah, they talked about putting a deadline in, and they didn't really want to put anything crazy, but we basically, I think it ended up going in for April of 2025, with the understanding it would be really lovely to see, something much sooner, I think, from a perspective, but that's where it was put into.
yeah, I mean that
So
would
far.
be that would be a conversation to have here. I think how would we all look at that and.
Yes.
But I just think that it would be about ideas in our plan ahead, and then because we can't guarantee we'd get everything anyways. But.
Anyway, I think it just made it sound like more than something that just trickles 5 years from now.
Yeah, I
think
agree.
that was sort of
Yeah.
the concept. That was, I think, the most important thing for you
Yeah.
guys to hear.
Anything from the state?
From the state. So I asked meeting because it came up what's going on at the state, and I wrote up the bills that have gone through municipal county, and also those that went to the special housing committee. And there's a lot. What really struck me, and New Hampshire Housing has what happened to them, but I thought since I'm your legislator, I'd write up what my thoughts were on the things I've seen on them, put it on the website in the Housing Task Force section. The first one was, which came to Municipal County, which is Senate Bill 538, relative to zoning procedures concerning residential housing. That's Senator Quokka's bill, which was known as the Homnibus. She did multiple tools for expanded 79E, so you could use it on conversions of office, industrial, and commercial to residential use. In the committee, there was some pushback from some members who were like, why are we giving this out, or the term is too long. I think that there could have been a better job of, when presenting the bill, of giving some examples of where 79E has been used. In Durham, you work under a town charter, and so the local governing body, the town council, is also the local legislative body and can approve things. That's not how it works in SB2 towns. SB2 towns, the legislative body that's going to approve things is the voters. And so in terms of zoning, you guys have a lot more flexibility. As you've seen, you can bring forward a zoning amendment at any time, and the town council can approve it at any time. But SB2 towns don't have that flexibility. They can only do it at the town meeting vote to approve zoning ordinances. And so that was, the proposal was of hers to allow SB2 towns to be able, that the local governing body would become the local legislative body in regards to zoning amendments. So it would allow what we do to SB2 towns. That, unfortunately, again, SB2 towns didn't understand how it would work, or how is the planning board work with this, and so I think there needed to be a better explanation of that, because that got pushed back from all the SB2 towns. And then the last component of it was that a proposal that came forward could use off-site parking as an alternative to on-site parking, but there was an issue with it. The issue was that if the applicant could prove that the off-site parking was good, the planning board had to approve the project. And then this is what really caused an issue. If the planning board didn't like it, they had to go to a third party for an appeal, and the committee thought it was a good idea. They thought that was backwards. They thought that the applicant should appeal more to the ZBA rather than a third party. And so in committee, we didn't have an ITL, and when it went to, there's some good ideas in there. It'll come back, I'm sure, next year. The next one is Senate Bill 554, which was transferring estate revenue to the Affordable Housing Fund, and it would have increased it from $5 million to $10 million. And it's been unusual in the legislature this term, this session, because we're not developing the budget, but we spent a lot of money. There was some from like the prison and that. And so there was, the head of the finance committee had a significant meltdown on the floor of the House, and it was embarrassing. And as a result, this was tabled 180 to 176, which is unfortunate, because it's $5 million that really, and that extra $5 million that really goes to the of needy. And then the last one is Senate Bill 527, relative to student housing. And this one, a non-germane amendment, 2024-1482H was tacked on. So what they did is they took House Bill 1281, which is the, you can't have less than 2 occupants per bedroom, which is actually sitting on the table right now. And they reintroduced it as a non-germane amendment, bypassing the municipal county, so they could bypass us, although I'm not supposed to say intent, but, and sent it to the Special Housing Committee where it was introduced. I went and spoke during the public hearing, as did Michael and Jay Goose. It actually is even worse than it was than 1281, because not only do they say that you cannot have less than 2 occupants per bedroom, but you can't have any zoning amendments that uses familiar and non-familiar relationship or marital status. It's kind of a mess because it doesn't really jibe with fire code at all, even though it says that you'll abide by fire code. When I went there and I spoke about it, the heart of the issue really is the per bed rental agreement. And as we saw in the much maligned RKG report, it drives up the cost of a rental. I looked on Zillow, and there's a single family home in Durham that can have 7 occupants. It must be grandfathered in. Each one is a single family home rent for $6,100. It's like ridiculous. So the problem with 1281 and Senate Bill 527 is you're providing a greater incentive to investors to buy homes, and then they rent per bedroom, and it boxes out the very people we've identified, both graduate and workforce, from renting those. And so it's not a good bill. And I tried to explain that in terms of the familiar and non-familiar relationship, that is in fire code. It is like the unrelated, when you move from 3 unrelated to 4 unrelated, it is no longer defined as a single family house. It is defined as a lodging house. And that changes the fight through unanimous consent, and it's in the Senate. I think it'll pass, that you wouldn't require a sprinkler system for that. So at any rate, in the fire code, they're saying that unrelated does matter because a family, if your house is on fire, well, at least that's the idea behind it. I think that whole section, both the lodging section and the fire code section, is got really antiquated language in it, like things like outsiders, and it's just really bad. It needs to be revised, but it was a really hostile public hearing for me. I probably spent, it's on YouTube so you can watch it, but I did maybe a 3-minute introduction and about 20 answering questions. What I said to them, and I sent to the committee, was Hanover's definition of family. I think what's come talked with is that the 3, and again, the 3 unrelated, I heard we did it since 1986. That's 38 years ago. The world has changed in 38 years. So you have to update things. And so while everybody says that it works and everything is hunky-dory with it, the unrelated is too broad, and it captures a bunch of people that you may actually want to live there. And so Hanover came up with a revised definition of family. As your legislator who is defending this repeatedly, I cannot ask you strongly enough to please look at this. I cannot defend this anymore. I've tried my best to defend it rationally, but the rest of the world does not see it this way. And Hanover is also a college town and has revised this. I don't think you're in a good defensible position right now. And I think that from planning board that you do examine this and work on it, because there's no one. It's going to come back, and I don't know if I can defend it, and I don't know what's going to happen with it. So I think you should be proactive and work on this. So that's my lecture.
Is SB 527 still in the works?
So SB 527 has not. Next Thursday we have, I think, upwards of 100 bills in the session that we're going to do, which is going to be completely insane. So I would assume that they'll have to get it done by.
I don't remember the details of it at this moment, but I remember it seemed more complicated than what we currently have.
Yes.
And it seemed to be loaded with loopholes.
Well, I think what they're trying to do is what you're trying to do. You're trying to strip off undergraduate housing from non-undergraduate housing. That's what they're trying to do. And so when you look through here, that's what they're really trying to do. They're trying to broaden the definition of family. It really, when I talk to the town planner, it's everybody but undergraduates is what they're really trying to do. And again, I think that the whole lodging house in fire code really needs to be re-examined and looked at. And I think that's something that we've talked about on municipal county. But again, I think when I first showed Durham's definition of family, and I think it allowed a couple of servants you could have. It was just,
That word just drives me
it was
crazy.
it was so bad that people just were like, oh my gosh, what's going on in Durham? So again, while it is loaded with, I mean, that's for you guys to work on and toil away, but
Well, we just sent, right now it's actually in the hands of the town council. We just sent a definitions amendment up.
So Heather, it's up to you.
This was something I pushed a long time ago.
yep.
In our town planner is very much in love with what he already has in the books, right? And I see that, but I did hear that Todd mentioned that they had received the copy of I'll just have to try and start to bring that up, because I think there has to be some modification from some, that represents more of what, if it's Todd's sort of gotten a push also from somewhere, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Have we been sent a copy of this?
No.
No.
I can send, I'll send it along
Okay.
with my write-up, my revised write-up of all the legislation, so you guys can look at it.
And Michael's away,
He is.
so you
So send it
might,
to Tracy so Tracy can
yeah,
do the appropriates.
and ask Tracy to send it out.
I mean, I'm just, there is a push. The push is, if you guys don't change it, it will be changed for you, is what my say. But I just, right now, you're, I mean, change is coming. I think you guys need to.
Well, the reason it's not actually high on my priority list is I expect within the next 3 years, the whole ability to use familial status will go away at the state level. That's just my
think-
thoughts
I
on
was saying the
it.
next decade it will disappear completely.
I
But
think the other thing is there are actually a lot of other towns that are very close to what Durham has. I tried finding an example somewhere beside, just trying to gather up different ways that we could reword everything, and they'll have to push for statewide, I think,
It's-
because there's more than just us that have a very limited view of what they're going to define that as in zoning.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't really find any other.
Hanover's the best.
Yeah, I mean, there are, the
There's
thing is,
some from out of state.
we're unique in the fact that we have, the student rental market is different than the regular rental market by that per occupant. And so, and I saw Mimi yesterday, as the student housing market softens, which it is, those units, we really want to be able to turn back into
Market rate.
at least market rate. And it's like to do that, and I was asked actually when I talked about the lease, and as a municipality, I don't know of a way that you can dictate to a landlord what their lease looks like. But it's like that is a stumbling block to converting those units back to what we think we want them for.
Yeah, that would probably be use of allowing municipalities to control leases as to what could be in them and what can't be in them, then some of the things. So it's a shame that the one that would have allowed, is it 538? It's a shame that one got, it's the one that would allow conversions.
well, that one had, its problem was that it was a omnibus.
Yeah,
Because it was an omnibus type bill, there was something in it for everybody to hate.
Yeah,
yeah, and that's usually how it happens.
pretty much.
But, I mean, I think that the use of 79E is going to have to be something that, from Durham's perspective, I think is going to have to be really looked at carefully, because we have not been, especially because at the planning board, there was Peyton McManus and I think Tom DeCaprio, they wanted to bring up the idea of, and you even agreed, bring the overlay district into the downtown. I think that that's something that is worth talking about, but we have to look at it from how it's going to work, and I think that the town would have to start to ante up some help because of the issues downtown with the infrastructure, with the wastewater infrastructure and all that. Right now, they expect the developer to bring that all up to standard. So we'd have to really look at that, but I'm going to get into that later sometimes. Okay, anything more that we should be looking forward to? Sounds
now,
interesting.
Well, I mean, again, we're in the home stretch. We only have 3 more sessions left, thank goodness. And I'll be able to tell you what I'm just telling you from the House side, we'll know what the whole thing is.
That's the only thing I was going to add is on a couple of the House bills that went over to the Senate, it looks like the ADU bill is likely the one that may make it through.
Yeah.
Looks like the second one could require a special exception or conditional use. There would also be limits on septic and wastewater capacity all applies. So it's not necessarily that second one by right. Looks like that allows that first one to be by right attached or detached. So, I don't think it have a big impact on
Which
Durham.
is what we
but
wanted in the first place.
Which is what we wanted here, yeah, attached by right.
It was
second one would
detached
be
by right.
You have it detached by right, yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought so.
It's attached by right now, but having the option of both sides.
Yeah.
Because some lots just favor one or the other.
yeah. And that hearing is tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. And then they will likely make their recommendation that same morning
Yeah.
because they're also up against
So it's-
1291.
Oh, yeah, 12.9, it's HB, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Barb? Anybody? Okay, great. Moving on then. All right, so let's move on to our outreach efforts. So what's up?
So, cut through some of the
Make some headway.
Stuff.
yeah. So, that's what we have. We sort of set up 3 different sections. Basically, like a town who might not already be up to speed on this. So this might be for instance, a good blurb for Friday updates as a general thing, or as well as whenever we do outreach, we want to make sure that this message keeps getting repeated. The second section is different terms and terminology, and how they're used differently now than they might have been used, especially 20, 40 years ago, when a lot of our community learned this vocabulary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are things that, again, we were looking for little one-liners and stuff to add to Friday updates and to put, did you know type things. So this is that section to try to deal with that. And then the last section brings in what, when we actually do our outreach Saturdays or whatever they end up being, and having those face-to-face meetings with the community, these are some of the topics that we need to be discussing. So that's the
Yeah.
general nutshell of what we handed out here.
Anybody have any comments about?
Another way to look at it is, the general overview, basic knowledge, and then the second section, this is pretty much like a second level of knowledge to have in order to have intelligent discussions, and also to understand some of the subtleties. And then the last part is resolutions, like what directions could we go in, or what does the community want to see happen, or not see happen. So that's another way that we kind of looked at it.
Yeah. The general overview being like put into a blurb on Friday updates. Because do you guys have any ideas to how you want to disseminate some of this, how to get some of this out? Friday updates is a good, but we might have more layers.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, okay. Anybody got any other idea? Friday updates could be is a great, and I think it's, but I don't know if there are more layers to it that we could add.
I took, like, this is a snapshot I took from New Hampshire Housing, I think it was. And it's like, it's on workforce housing. It's pretty short. It has what the workforce housing law is. And your list here, it has affordability, and it defines affordability as 30% of household income. And it's a pretty simple one. I just took as a picture, and I think that would be a good one to start. But I agree, like, just all of these, the top one, most people don't know what these are. And they are essential to having a more refined conversation. And I think if we could get them in to Friday updates, you know, in digestible. I mean, what is affordable? What is affordable in AMI and workforce? Just in one blurb, put that in Friday updates, and then which is you know, ADUs net, because that's there's a really New Hampshire Housing also has some really good ones. ARP that goes over it, and there's kind of a pictures. And if we could break those up into maybe, you know, 4 or 5 different little chunks and put them in Friday updates that are easily digestible. And then we could have links that go back to the New Hampshire Housing things on ADUs and workforce. The actual write-ups of those are pretty long. They're like 50 or 60 pages, but at least if people wanted to delve more into it, it would give them a link that they could go read more about it. But if we could just get the basic ideas in there first, and, you know, again, if we break it, as I said, like 4 pieces at least, that's a month it would take us to get that out to the community. And then we could just have maybe one more revised thing, because that would allow us, if we're going to have something at the library, that we would have gotten the information out so that when we start to go into like where you could build it or that, people at least will understand what the terms are.
Yeah, I mean, I think that each of these, maybe some of them could be done together, Friday updates, really explaining it in a short, readable format. And then you could have links that were associated with that, included that with that one. But I think if we were to start with the general overview and create it almost like a real section in the Friday update,